Hey everyone, I'm Cameron Robertson, CEO of 3PL Systems, and joining me is my co-host Michael Sternberg here on 3PL Live Sessions. Today we're going to be talking about the idea of ideas are not owned. So, Michael, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, the idea of ideas. When I was prepping for this, I was like writing notes, and I kept getting caught up. But so, anyways, I looked up the dictionary definition of an idea, and I think it's good to start there, so we kind of lay like a baseline. So, the dictionary definition of an idea is a thought or suggestion as to a possible course of action, and I think it's important to point out that. Not to say it's not real, but like it's not real yet. It's just a thought. It's just a suggestion. And it's a possibility of something I'm going to take action on, right? So like nothing's actually been done yet. And I think what we're trying to dive into today is you hear a lot of times like, oh, so-and-so company or whatever company stole that idea from me or from other company or from whatever. It's like, but did they really steal it, I guess is the question we're going to explore. So Cam, from your perspective, how protected are your ideas?
They really aren't, to be honest with you. So one of the things that you need to understand is when you share ideas with people in general, if they find it to be a really, really good idea, typically people aren't the best at keeping information to themselves. So within our industry, for example, in logistics, tech, the tech side of logistics, we hear all the time throughout the industry all these wonderful ideas. And those ideas may have stemmed from an individual talking about, hey, I have this great idea. Can I tell you about it? And then it goes to that next person, and then it starts to tree out into 30, 40 people if it's a great idea. What it really comes down to at the end of the day is, are you going to execute on the idea and actually do something with it and deliver something to the market so that idea comes to life, so you're ahead of your competition on it, or not? And so that is probably one of the key things you can do. If it really is a really good idea, executing on it, and depending on the type of idea it is, you could patent that idea so that you're protected legally from other people taking it. But on the software side of things, that's a lot harder to do because even in our industry, again, you'll see a lot of companies doing the same thing, but certain companies are better at doing certain things, whether that be dealing with OCR technology or RPA technology or whatever it may be. There are kings of each type of those technologies, and it's really who executes the best at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to run with a piece of what you were saying. You were talking about once you do execute that, you can patent whatever it is that you built and protect yourself that way. And obviously, no surprise to anybody, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a patent expert, but nope. I did a little bit of research. and apparently U.S. patent law holds that patents may only be granted on physical manifestations of ideas, whether that's like a machine or a product or a piece of software or what have you. But the underlying idea itself is not actually patentable. And to kind of make it relevant, it's like you can't say that you own the idea of brokering freight. Like it's an absurd assumption. When I say it, it sounds ridiculous, right? And so in that sense, there's nothing stopping even me and you, Cameron, from opening a brokerage if we wanted to, right? I don't want to, but even if we wanted to, there's nothing stopping us. Or there's no one stopping anyone from starting up a new brokerage-focused TMS to become one of our competitors, right? We don't own the underlying idea. We certainly have patents and ownership over a lot of the cool stuff that the engineering team has built and a lot of the ways that we solve complex issues, whether it's tracking, rating, whatever it is, right? And really, to your point, Cam, no one cares about your idea until you actually do something with it, right? Like it's
a hard truth.
you don't have a leg to stand on, right? And look, I'm not going to name names, but if you've been in the industry for long enough that we're in, you've heard stories of, oh, that company, they stole that idea from so-and-so. Oh, that company, that was originally some other dude's idea. But no disrespect if you're listening and that rings a bell, rings true with your strikes of course. you didn't actually do anything with it, right? And so maybe it's a harsh truth, like you said, but like I don't really feel bad for you if you didn't protect your idea and you didn't do anything with it. It's like too bad.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of times, and this has happened to us plenty of times, even in this last 6 months, is where you build something that's unique to your platform, and then you launch it, and then a competitor comes out with something 120 days later and is like groundbreaking technology. It's like, wait, literally, we just launched that like 4 months ago, the same exact thing, and you just introduced it. I don't know if you came up with the idea. It may have originated from us. It may have, that happens a lot. Maybe it didn't. Yeah. But that happens a lot also, not only in this industry, that happens in all industries. Even when you look at the battle between Apple and Samsung, the Android crowd is always saying Apple's stealing these ideas, or they've existed in Android phones for 10 years, 10 plus years, right? But the thing that Apple does in a beautiful way is they do that on purpose. They're waiting for other companies to launch technologies so they can analyze the technology, understand the technology, and then do it better. And that's, you can't argue that. Like, the actual quality of what Apple builds is a better build overall. Maybe the software is something that you may or may not like, but the quality of the actual phone itself is one of the best because of their approach to doing things. They're very delayed on it. But yeah, so another good example of it is even at TIA recently, talking to people that I know within the industry. One of our partners, it's actually tried to partner with another company in the industry, and they, after partnering with them, they took the idea and then killed the partnership and then launched it as their own after they understood what exactly they built and how to build it themselves. So they just eliminated the integration altogether, and so that will always come back to haunt you. So it's not a good play, but yes, it's a very interesting thing in how it plays out.
Well, so let's run with that real quick, because I think there's a difference between air quotes stealing an idea that you just hear in conversation or that someone tells you about, and no air quotes stealing an idea as like when you've partnered with someone or when you've like signed an agreement with someone and there's
very
NDAs in place. Like, there's a big difference between that, right? And so NDAs on a whole different thing. Again, not a lawyer, but as much as NDAs are great, like the reality is they're also hard to enforce, right? And especially when it comes to like someone stole my idea. I don't know. I mean, this is what you pay lawyers for, right? Like, I don't know how to prove that, right? But I keep coming back to this idea, and I think, I see, big investors or business leaders that are like on podcasts and stuff, and it always comes down to execution. Because even like companies that we know that have been really successful that we've either worked with from a vendor perspective or whatever, there's always an idea guy, and then there's always an execution guy. And typically, like, sometimes it's the same person, but typically, like,
it's very rare.
It's very rare, right? And like, all credit to the idea guy, but nothing happens without the execution guy, right? And so I think a point that was driven into my head when I was like much younger, and like still today, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you're talking about those things. What are you gonna do? Like, what are you actually gonna do about it? Now, you and I share this in spades, Cameron. I think it's like, just do it. Just get it done. Like, what are we talking about? Like, are you going to build it or not? Are you going to start the company or not? Are you going to make the phone call or not? Are you going to send the email? Like, what are you actually doing? And that's what I want to look at, right? And so if I have an idea that I think is that important, I might tell you, and a few other people in my close circle. I'm not telling anybody else until I have time to execute and get it out to market. Because if it's that good, someone's going to steal that shit, right? Bottom line, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting thing because, again, going back to closer to the beginning of this conversation, is we hear a lot of great things. We hear a lot of good things that people want to work on, people want to do, and at the end of the day, it is about execution. And so, really, when you want to express an idea to a group of people, Mike said it best, is you only want to do that with your inner circle. If you want to validate that idea, it needs to be within your inner circle without going outside of that, because it's going to get out very quickly and someone else may build it. They may build it better. Um, Moving on from that, one of the things that you can do as an organization to protect your ideas is, the execution piece is that you need to build it, you need to deliver it, you need to bring it to market, and on top of that, you need to do it better than the competition's going to do it, and especially if it's a big idea. One of the things that we're doing internally is we're about to launch a major feature for our product, our TMS, that has been in the works for going on 16 months now. And it's
Yeah.
a very, very, very small group of individuals and companies that actually know about this idea. And what's beautiful about that is we've had 16 months to work on this build out that none of our competitors know about. That's going to differentiate us. And so by doing that, taking that type of approach, that's just another way for you to protect yourself, to protect your major differentiators in the marketplace when you deliver them. And that's one of the things we ran up against is we would deliver something and a competitor would just deliver it 60 to 120 days later, the same thing we just announced.
Yeah.
And so we've now taken a step back and we've kind of pulled a lot of our information of being so public about certain things because of that. Because it's what's allowing them to just say, "Hey, look, we have the same thing." Well, no, you didn't, but now you do.
Yeah. The other piece to that is effectively going to market with the tool and or product once it's built, right? So like this product enhancement that you're talking about, we've been working on it for 16 months and we've got a few people in the inner circle that are helping as advisors and making this get to where it needs to be. But when it's done, if nobody knows about what you're doing, and I'm not saying your competitors, I'm saying like the market, your potential buyers, if nobody knows what you've done, then nobody cares, right? And so there's this other component of like, protecting your idea is like, you also, once you're ready, you do have to tell people, right? You have to time that right, but like you have to market it, you have to work on your messaging, you have to have a value prop, and this is all like standard go-to-market marketing and sales stuff. But I think also there's probably a lot of really cool stuff that people have executed on and maybe built, and they just don't know how to get it out or distribute it, and it just sits on a shelf, metaphorically sits on a shelf. And I think you're doing the world a disservice in that. And that may be like a hyperbolic statement and a bit extreme, but it's true. It's like, I think a lot of people are building some really cool things, but they don't know how to distribute it from a marketing and a sales and a go-to-market perspective. And so that also protects your idea, because if it is that good, and if you do execute quickly and that well, and enough people know about it and buy it, who cares if someone tries to knock you off, right? Cam, talk a little bit about Tesla in that example. You've owned a couple Teslas, right? There's clearly a bunch of other people trying to get into the EV market, but they're going to be kind of hard to knock off, don't you think?
Well, that's kind of a different story. You have a lot of gas-powered companies that basically said electric cars are going to fail. They're not going to do anything. You had the CEO of Ford who came out and said, "Hey, no, this is a fad. This isn't something we're going to invest a lot of money into." Turn around a few years later, everyone is going as fast as they can to try to deliver a Tesla killer, something that can actually compete in the marketplace. The fact of the matter is that there really is nothing, even in today's market, that can really compete. They can at the car level, right? They, like Mercedes has beautiful EVs now, and you have BMW that has them, and Rivian and a few other companies. But when you look at it, the biggest piece that they're missing, where Elon Musk really did an incredible thing, is they built a network of charging stations throughout the entire world. And when people are in the marketplace, they may not be thinking about that. But if you drive anywhere far, Tesla is really the only option, unless you want to charge at a much slower rate, right? Because in a Tesla, it takes 15 minutes to get 80% of your battery back. In a Ford Mach-E, it takes like 45 minutes to an hour to get that battery back, the same amount.
Damn.
And so if your time is valuable, you're going to choose the Tesla over any of these other cars. And at one point, Tesla was the most valuable company in the entire world. So it's a very interesting thing. And now you see all these car companies copying what Tesla was doing and trying to deliver something new to the marketplace. And we'll see how that plays out for them, especially in our industry. The Tesla semi trucks. We're going to see, right there behind you.
Thanks, Cameron. Cameron bought me this for a back of my back table decoration. This thing's pretty sweet.
Tesla semi trucks.
Official Tesla semi from Tesla, right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I do believe that as of right now, they are going to be the only competitor as an electric semi. I don't view Nikola as, that was a huge scam anyway when it happened. But I don't view any of these other semi truck companies being able to compete with that because they're so far ahead. Yeah. And what they were really, really good about doing is what we just talked about, even with our idea. They kept it under wraps. They didn't actually talk about it. They didn't do anything to the marketplace to tell them, hey, we're working on this really big idea and it's coming. Right. They just announced it. Right. And so they got ahead of their competition, and you have to pay attention to that. So,
Elon is one of those rare, you said like the idea guy and the execution guy not being the same is a rarity, but Elon is the idea guy and an extreme executor in more ways.
There's very few of them.
Right? But he's one of them, right?
Yeah. I'm always weary when someone says, "Oh no, I execute on all my ideas." It's like, is it you executing?
Or you're not an idea guy, because like true idea guys
Did you
have
take that
so many ideas. I'm not idea guy. You're more idea guy than I am, right? Yeah. But you're also an executor. But I'm just not. I'm not. That's not me. I'll go do things, right? So, anyways, I think we've beat this to a pulp, dude. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Lead us out.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So, before we go, shout out. I just had this on the Tesla semi when I picked it up. Zell, you guys sent me a newspaper. This is like super cool marketing and branding. So, this came in the mail. If any of you are watching or you watch this afterhand, thank you. I'll read this newspaper later. Super unique. But other than that, man, I don't have anything else. We're gonna line up some cool guests over the next few weeks. We have a few things in the works that we'll be letting you guys know about. You have anything planned for the weekend, Cam? I don't know if I've asked you that yet.
Not really. Family's been sick, so maybe Costco, family things.
Yeah, I turned 36 this weekend, dude. I'm getting old.
I know.
Getting old. And you turned 36 not too long after. So for my birthday, I will be taking my son to T-ball. I'll probably hit Costco, and I'll be taking him to a pizza party for T-ball. So
very nice.
Such is dad life, right? So sweet. I think that's it, man. Let's let everybody go. Have a good rest of their Friday. And we appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you.